we can't. Okay. Theme song in 3, 2, 1. I'm sorry. I start over. All right. Theme song in 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, C Plus Comedy. Go there. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. 226, episode number 226. Here we are, back in the show. Let's do this. Let's get after it. Never know how to start these things. What's going on in my life? I just got back from the movies. Carefree Sunday afternoon. Saw House of Gucci. AMC has this deal right now. AMC A-List is $1 for a month, and I used it, and now I get to see any movie I want for free for the next month. Very excited to, I saw him, Encanto on Friday night alone, adult man by myself, Jesus, the people under me are moving, thank goodness, and they are being extremely loud right now, setting their stuff up to move. Anyway. So if you hear any knocking about, then that's them. So here we are. I saw Encanto alone. Another just a classic Disney affair, which means it has all the Disney machinations of a good and bad Disney movie. I also saw House of Gucci. That's where I just came from today. And boy, that's a long movie. Oh man, I checked my watch a couple times, but I had a good time with both films. Children were just screaming their heads off in House of Gucci. No. And it's just hear a baby in House of Gucci. I just really love Lady Gaga. I think she's a tour de force. Adam Driver is one of the best actors of modern times. Al Pacino was godsend. Jared Leto, a little too much Jared Leto was Jared Leto, but And that is my impersonation of a child. I hope I get this part. I was auditioning for a part of a child in a play, a modern day version of Oliver Twist. I play Oliver Twist at his regular age, and but we're all still gonna be wearing the same kind of 1800s, like early 1900s homeless kid garb. Hey, let's stop talking. I also saw the Annie thing. I don't know if I talked about that last episode. I don't even know what I talk about most of the time. But the Annie musical on the NBC. Turning myself up here so I can hear myself. If you hear football in the background, it's playing on the TV. Oh, and Nova's here. She's right behind me. You can't see her; she's on the ground. They saw the new Annie play. It was wonderful. The young woman who played Annie did a great job. Who else was in there? Nicole Scherzinger, great, fantastic. Harry Connick Jr., wonderful. Taraji P. Henson, really, really good. Very, 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 very good. Yeah, okay. Let's move on because I gotta get this episode out. 3 minutes of me is enough. All right. So first things first. Here comes BuzzFeed. That's what people said when they launched the SPAC. I mentioned this I don't know how many episodes ago, but or it might have been news time. It's probably news time. BuzzFeed went public. BuzzFeed's a publicly traded company now, and that's not unheard of in the news world. New York Times is public. Other publications are public. But BuzzFeed is one of the new media that is finally public, and it has not been going well. Straight up, it's just something that has not been working for them. This comes from Recode, written by Peter Kafka. I am playing with my watch link. I got a new watch, playing with my watch link, and I'm sorry if it's annoying. Peter Kafka over at Recode writes, BuzzFeed's a public company. Now what? Sublead. The fate of BuzzFeed is going to determine the fortunes of a lot of other companies. Now, truth be told, I did not think. I don't think BuzzFeed was going to do well. I mean, the New York Times, when they launched years ago, decades ago, into being a publicly traded company, it it wasn't fruitful even at first, and now it's. I mean, they're surviving. They're not underwater with the stock or anything. Not like how Peloton is. But speaking of Peloton, Jesus, the Sex in the City killing Big off and Peloton being a part of it. That's just it's ridiculous, and investors are stupid to go. Oh, we got to get out of this. I like Peloton. I really do. I enjoy Peloton. I use it every single day. The app and. It's dumb that these financial insecurities are happening. Anyway, Kafka writes, I can hear people outside. This microphone is really strong, or the walls are thin. BuzzFeed transformation has been rockier. Is that the TV or is it me? I'll just turn down the mic. BuzzFeed's transformation has been rockier than it would have liked. Last week, when it finally morphed from a private company into a public one using a SPAC, investors gave the company a thumbs down. That meant it only raised $16 million instead of $250 million that it had hoped to raise earlier this year. On top of that, 61 employees in the BuzzFeed news operation, about 5% of the company's workforce, walked off the job last Thursday to protest the state of their negotiations for a union contract. The fact that BuzzFeed is around at all, let alone publicly traded, is worth noting. I think, but I hope you heard that. BuzzFeed being, again, so this goes with the idea that even BuzzFeed in the new media and what it has continually stumped what was thought to be, the conventional wisdom of news. I've stated before, I hate the name BuzzFeed, but I think that they do great, fantastic work. Like when they break these huge feature-length stories, these huge feature pieces, but then it has the BuzzFeed name, the BuzzFeed News name. They have it's kind of like Vice. Vice. I think Vice is a good name, but I think a lot of the work they do is a little immature. Especially, it's just like it's all about weed, but nothing. And that, I mean, but like I said, I think Vice is a fantastic publication. They just need to grow up a little bit. Doing the grunge thing is great. But anyway, back to BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed, there's like two parts to it. There's that serious part that people only get to see every so often when these writers are allowed to actually do real work, and then there's the part that goes viral because of it's posted on Facebook or Twitter or what have you. It's the listicles. It's the stuff that doesn't really matter. It's the fat. And now they can't rely on that kind of business model anymore because the other companies that were doing the same thing are gone, which is something that Kafka notes here in this piece. The camera is really moving slow today. Maybe it's because I have Premiere open. Let me close that down and see what else is going on here. Well, who knows if there's going to be video with this episode. Okay, it's good. It's back. So BuzzFeed being around right now, even as Kafka points out, is something to behold. There's a reason why BuzzFeed still kicking because it's because of the work that they're able to do, and also they have they have good investors. They just need to invest in themselves. But and that's a problem. And it sounds like that's coming as like an offhanded remark, but a joke, if you will. But the thing is, they need to be able to trust inside their writers, pay them well, and I mean, this goes with any publication. They need trust within their writers and be able to move in such a way that no one can predict what they're doing. When they put out a story about Me Too, when they put out stories about abuse and like these just giant feature pieces, and people love it, and they're done well and they're written well, and they're nominated for Pulitzers. Has BuzzFeed won any Pulitzers? Oh God, I'm all over the place today. BuzzFeed Pulitzer. Yes, BuzzFeed won a Pulitzer this year. Wow. And it was by okay, hold on. Oh yes, Megha Rajagopalan, Alison Killing, oh boy, and Christo Bushek. Amazing. That's sensational. BuzzFeed winning its own Pulitzer. And that's what happens when you really let your writers. They can put when you trust in your writers, they can put your name back on the map. But Kafka goes into what is needed for the people who work at BuzzFeed, for the people who manage it, and for the people who manage publishers not named BuzzFeed. And it's a pretty fascinating piece that he's done here. And BuzzFeed shares, they fell on the first day of that public trading, and I mean, I think they've stabilized. I'm not going to double check because I really don't care, but they could. I'm not going to do my research. I mean, I do my own research when it comes to vaccines, which I do not trust. Just joking. I got my. This is stupid. I got my booster. Just hit the spot. I got my booster on Friday morning, and you have to wait 15 minutes there to see if there's going to be any side effects or however you feel or whatever. And I'm sitting in the CVS, and it's pretty busy. And it's there's like 4 chairs, and they're all relatively well spaced. There's 4 chairs, 2 that are like 5 feet apart, and then me. There's another one that's facing the other chairs, and it's kind of by itself. And then there's another chair that I guess was in the way, so somebody kind of pushed it over to where my chair was before I sat down. So I'm sitting there, and then people are going to the pharmacy, and it starts becoming a line. And then this young lady, bless her heart, she's there to get her booster as well. And the lady's like, yeah, just go sit down, and when we call your name, you just come up and we'll give it to you. So the girl turns around immediately, disregards the other 2 chairs that she sees, and she comes to the one that's, I'm not joking, quite literally, like right next to me, like they're touching, and looks at those, and nope, I'm gonna sit right next to this guy. And I was like, excuse me, what is going on? I think I have this energy that attracts people, and I hate it. I genuinely do not like attracting people. Just like when I ride my bike, when I was riding down the belt, I live on this thing called the Beltline Man-Made Trail in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was biking home from the movie theater, and every time, like, there's other people on the bike, there's other people biking, there's people on it's Sunday afternoon, busy time for that pathway, and I'm biking, and people are looking at me as if they've never seen a bike before, and I'm being nice, I'm going like on your left, and there's nothing crazy about the bike or anything. It's just I get eyes like, this guy is on a 2-wheeled motorless vehicle. Also, I get those same stares when I wear a mask in public. I'm in the store, I wear a mask, and people will be like, "He's a mask? How? What? What is he covering his face for?" It's so stupid how we are marginalized. We're marginalized. How is it hot? It is December 12th. It is hot in my apartment, and I don't have the heat on. I haven't turned it on. I haven't had the need to. It's chilly outside, but it's hot in here. Heat rises. Shares of BuzzFeed closed down 11% from its starting price on Monday, capping a disappointing first day. It did see a spike. It was up 35% Monday, which happens. That's what happens in stocks. And well, I mean, it's easy to say we'll see like if it bounces back, but It'll be interesting to note if it ever does as well as New York Times is doing. And New York Times is not doing hot itself on the stock exchange. Look at me talking about the stock exchange. This next one comes. Oh God, jeez. Oh, this is the same. Oh, this is the same story for Alex Weprin, Hollywood Reporter. Revenge of the SPAC? UTA, BuzzFeed, and maybe Stars making moves. I remember earlier in the year, SPACs were hot, and now it's kind of gauche to see. And how a SPAC works is a company like BuzzFeed will team up with a smaller shell company, a smaller shell company, unknown shell company, and they'll basically be driven to the public stock exchange. And it's a quick way to make money. And it's a quick way to tell the world that you are serious about making money. But it also has only worked for a handful of companies versus it's like somebody going, I want to get famous, I'm going to start a TikTok, but there's also 20 million other people making a TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, Billie Eilish, SNL, there's a TikTok sketch that was so funny. That's it. That's what I'm going to say. And now the Biden administration is going to crack down on SPACs. They blocked the sale of Simon & Schuster. Oh God, who were they selling it to? Simon & Schuster was being sold to Penguin House or Random House, excuse me, and it was going to become one of the biggest. It was just becoming a monopoly in the book publishing company and book publishing book publishing company. In the book publishing world, I want to see Simon & Schuster and Simon and Garfunkel and Simon and Garfunkel and Oates. Has anyone said that before? Random House. Was it Random House? Yeah, it was Random House. Penguin Random House. I was right. It was Penguin Random House. I said Penguin before, and then I was going to say Random House after the fact. I was correct. All right. So what does this mean for Stars as well? The streaming service and pay TV channel has 30 million paid subscribers, and owner Lionsgate said last month it is exploring its options. Lionsgate Vice Chairman Michael Burns told analysts that the decision was driven by the, quote, opportunity to potentially unlock significant shareholder value under a scenario where investors have the ability to value our studio assets and Stars separately. He added, quote, recent transaction multiples in the media space give us confidence that exploring alternate paths is prudent. This is kind of referring to how AT&T spun off Warner Media and gave it to Discovery. And now they're working with Discovery. I am not impressed with what Stars has to offer, period. They do have that blind spotting show. But I don't think... Why does Lionsgate own Stars? Why aren't they in the pay TV world? Well, where could Stars go? I mean, there's nowhere for it to go. It's kind of the rotten. Actually, if anything's the rotten stepchild, I was about to say, it would be Cinemax. Cinemax. I don't know why it's still around. I believe it's owned by Warner, and it's just kind of like you can subscribe to it by itself, but who would want it? It's the runoff from HBO. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, interestingly enough, in this article, I forgot who wrote it. Sorry, let me go back up. I got to give Alex Weprin. Weprin mentions Discovery CEO David Zaslav, who's now the big head in front of Discovery and Warner Media. He has not expressed similar enthusiasm in reference to the Lionsgate guy. He has not expressed a similar enthusiasm for gaming, and AT&T says the WB Game Studio will be split up when the merger is complete, keeping some of its studio at the telecom giant and others with Warner Bros. Discovery. Video games are a finance source that the studio says the studio or its assets, which includes big studios like Rocksteady and NetherRealm. Rocksteady created the Batman video games and the Shadow of, what is it called? Shadow of Mordor. But what's the first name? Lord of the Rings. It's a Lord of the Rings game. Oh, jeez. I played all of them. Whatever. I mean, video games are a lucrative thing, and you're always going to get good assets from that. But I think I see, these TV people and AT&T kind of not respecting that world has the ability to be reached into. Again, we're still talking about the BuzzFeed SPAC story. This is all a part of the same thing, and it's easier to sell those, but in the long run, if you want your bottom line, yeah, they cost a lot to make, but geez, you make a good, like the Spider-Man games, you make a good game, people are just going to love it. They're going to love it and be able to purchase it. Really taper it off at the end there. BuzzFeed's only left with 16 million. Companies are being spun off. It's trying to fight in a world where people only recognize names as opposed to capital, and they got neither. Are we done with this? All right, that was 3 stories, 20 minutes. Let's move 17 minutes. Let's move on. Where is UK diversity in TV and film now? There was a big whole stank last year in June of 2020. This comes from Minori Ravindran. 1 year ago, stars like Gugu and Bathara called out the lack of diversity in UK film and TV. Has anything changed? So, because in the height of Black Lives Matter, June 2020, there was another movement. A 3-page letter began circling across the UK and TV film industry with 4 commands from its signatories. Banish your weak excuses, be more demanding, expand your vision, and empower black and brown independent producers. It was signed by people like Chiwetel Ejiofor, Colin Firth, Florence Pugh. Oddly enough, I think Colin Firth and Florence Pugh both star in a lot of movies without people of color in it. So there we go. It's just another tale of white people saying it but not doing it, white actors saying it but not doing it, and producers and all that stuff. But I don't think it's really changed in that sense. Movies like The Father, and yeah, I've never seen it, and I know it's about a family, about a father at least, but there are no people of color in it. There's whole, White Lotus. I know what that's about. I understand, but still, the people on top of above the line are still going to be, the white people starring in it. Yes, those aren't wholly British things, but whatever. I don't care. Shows like Chernobyl. Yes, I know it takes place in Russia in the past, but still, not one brown face to be seen. There's more people of color in House of Gucci than there's been in a lot of movies this past year, in a lot of TV shows this past year. My God, I don't know what that is. Well, it was very loud. I mean, diversity, as much as mental health is a buzz phrase. I mean, I did use the bunny ears. They're called quotes. As much as mental health is a buzz phrase, I think we really need to start digging into, if we're going to have to start caring about how people feel in their brains, care about it, how they're represented on screen. And again, diversity is not just skin color; it's also queerosity and queerosity. I'm gonna start using that. I like queerosity. If it's offensive, tell me. Queerosity and differently abled people. Trying to think of a nice way to say it. Not a nice way, the right way to say it. In television, only 9.3% of producers making programs for the main UK broadcasters between August 2019 and July 2020, the most recent period with statistics available, were from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic BAME groups, according to industry org Diamond. Overall, off-screen contributions from BAME groups actually dropped from 12.3% in 2018-2019 to 11.8% in 2019-2020. Glaringly, the genre with the worst off-screen representation is drama, which is sorely lacking in any BAME, I just say BAME, presence, and that of disabled workforce. It makes me, I wonder, working on, being in this industry, and having, been on sets and whatnot, a movie like, oh boy, Little Women. A movie like Little Women, where there's no, like, zero people of color except for the one serving, playing the serving characters. Does anyone, what are the not work conditions? What is the work life, I guess, I don't know, of a person of color that's working on the set? Is the camera operator, who's probably a person, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, it's just, probably not. Any producers were, I doubt any people producers people of color, because Greta Gerwig is just work with people of color, and I wonder, like, if I'm the sound person and I'm a gaffer and I'm just standing there, am I looking around going, my God, there's no darkies here. Meanwhile, the British Film Institute's most recent diversity and inclusion statistics indicate that non-white producers receive only 14% of BFI funding in 2019 and 2020, up from the paltry 5% in 2018-2019. Oh man, and even though these numbers, are slowly increasing, it's just not fast enough. You have to fight. When you're fighting a war, you have to fight multiple battles, and it's getting kind of tiresome to just take on one thing at a time, because it goes mental health, and then it goes to race, and then it goes to gender, and we should be fighting for everybody all the time. And the UK in this has just been appalling when it comes to its lack of diversity. And I would love to see it change, but the change comes from the people with the money in charge. If Colin Firth and Florence Pugh really want to change something, then go, hey, no one here is a person of color. No, everyone, no one here is queer, and no one here. Oh, you can't ask that. You can't ask that at a job. But you know what I'm saying. It's you have to be held accountable. You have to do the job instead of just saying, detesting it. Hey Google, turn on the lamp. It's too dark for me to not do that. Thank you. It's and it feels kind of you're welcome. All right, I appreciate it. And it's kind of, and I know I did that in the middle of a serious thing, but it was getting too dark. You see, it's getting too dark in here. And you have to be held accountable, and you can't just say something's detestable and not do anything about it. So all those, again, I keep referring back to this because it's something that's seared in my head. When Frances McDormand was at the Oscars and she said inclusion writer, and then all of her white actor friends and producers and directors and writers, they all stood up and were writers aren't the Oscars, but they were I'm just joking, but they were like clapping and standing. How many of those people actually followed through on that? And again, not many of them. And I don't care if a movie is made and it's I don't care if Steven Spielberg is making a biopic about himself and it's set in 1960. Change one of the colors of the characters. Jesus. It just doesn't make sense. How are we gonna still make the like Tom Hanks, and God love him, he's a great actor, and he's a great guy, and I'm sure he's a wonderful guy. Like the last 5 of his movies have just been movies that don't star people of color or feature any people of color, and that's I notice it. I notice it when I'm watching a movie, and no matter how good it is, or a TV show, no matter how good it is, I was sitting there. I go, like Succession. I really like Succession, and if it weren't for the two women that work for Jeremy Strong's character, there would be no people of color in that show, and it's super noticeable. And I know, I get it. It's about a family. I don't care. How adds look, all it takes is just adding, let's see, I don't know, a person of color in the role who walks by once an episode to see it and goes, "Hey everybody, I'm here." Just every episode. Like same thing on Curb Your Enthusiasm. When someone says, I made a movie with all my friends, and then all the friends are like, white, I go, you need to get some new friends. And adding to this, Elsa Keslasi over at Variety writes, non-white characters represent less than 20% of French film protagonists. What's that show on Netflix? Lupin. That show talks about race and I don't think anybody's hearing these things. I think we see these numbers and we go, this is bad, and then we just move on. Lupin is like I think it's the only French project I've seen that has a person of color starring in it. But also, there's not a lot of French stuff coming out. I don't watch those stinky cheese eaters. A new study from the advocacy group Collectif 50/50, surveying French films from 2019, has revealed that 62% of local film protagonists are perceived as white, highlighting the underrepresentation of visible minorities in French cinema. The study, titled Sénégalites, that was a Spanish pronunciation, Chad. French. Bonjour, Sénégalites. No, I can't even do it. Was unveiled during a day-long conference hosted by Collective 50/50 on December 8th. Out of 115 highest budgeted and highest grossing French films of 2019, like Le Spider-Man, Bon Morning, Vietnam. Okay, all right, I'm sorry. Out of 115 highest budgeted and highest grossing French films in 2019, that survey, you gotta make yourself laugh, showed that only 13% of leading characters are perceived as non-white, 49% are perceived as white males, 23% as white females, 6% as non-white females, and 8% is black, 7% is black, 8% is Arab, 1% is Asian. It's just astounding that these that we can't. That there's no visibility for this. I think this is all trade website stuff. I wonder if it had, and this is something I genuinely tried to do when I worked in the news. I wonder if there was some type of platform for this, for these types of stories, other than the trade websites. Like if CNN reported on this, or if NBC said something, then it would get more visibility. Versus this is news coming from people in the industry, and people in the industry are the ones seeing it as well. Would it take somebody on TikTok? Yeah, like sometimes I'll hear a story broke from TikTok, and I wonder if it would take somebody big on there, or on Instagram, or on YouTube, or Facebook, or Twitter, someone somewhere on one of these popular social media platforms to go, there's no representation in these Disney movies, there's no representation in these Warner movies, and in Lionsgate, and any of this stuff, and here are the numbers. This is a study, came out 2 weeks ago. Would that be effective? Would that be something that people would finally listen to and go, great, I will not watch this Martin Scorsese movie. I will not watch this Greta Gerwig movie because there are no people of color. I wonder if it would take that, or this movie like Licorice Pizza There's no people. Paul Thomas Anderson, PTA, married to Greta Gerwig. I hope I got all of that right. I genuinely hope I got every last bit of that right. Is that Paul Thomas Anderson? Oh, he was born on my birthday. Okay, hold on. Paul Thomas Anderson is married to Maya Rudolph. Then who's married to Greta Gerwig? All right, I'm going to do this. Greta Gerwig. Greta Gerwig's husband is Noah Baumbach. Oh, Jesus Christ. But Paul Thomas Anderson still has a movie, and Noah Baumbach doesn't make movies with people of color in it either. But Licorice Pizza is the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and there's not one person of color in it. I just saw a trailer with it. I know it takes place in 1973. I just saw a trailer for it, though. And it's also 2.5 hours long. And it just, 2 hours long. Oh, Maya Rudolph's in it. Great. She's a representative. But these movies that are being talked about constantly, you know, these movies that are Oscar contenders, where's the representation? Who knows? And let's do some cleanup stories. This comes from the Wall Street Journal, written by Lillian Rizzo and Joe Flint. Comcast weighs pulling some content from Hulu in effort to boost Peacock. Now, if anything, I have to do something right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. One of these articles is behind a paywall, and I've got to take it out from behind the paywall, if you know what I mean. Oh, no, that's the wrong link. Oh, that's the wrong link. The wrong link. I've got so much Italian in me right now because I've been watching that, because I watched that House of Gucci film. Okay. Oh, God. This is what happens when you have to produce your own thing. Okay, here we go. Comcast, as we know, Disney bought Fox, which gave it majority shares of Hulu, because Hulu was owned by Disney, Fox, NBC, just a conglomerate of companies before streaming became what it is today. And when Disney bought Fox, the writing was on the wall and Comcast said that they were making NBC Universal, Comcast, whatever. So that said that they were making Peacock. Writing was on the wall essentially that the deal for Hulu could expire or, you know, just be broken up. Hulu, again, rotten stepchild of the streaming world, of the Disney world. It's crazy. It's adult streamer, or it's a streamer that's supposed to be for everybody, whereas Disney Plus is, you know, for families. And Disney Plus is like wanted, and Hulu is just kind of there. And again, Hulu is my favorite streamer. Second favorite. Look, they moved my stuff. They said the section where I have these things, my stuff, they moved it to the end of the line. So I gotta search for it. Anyway, NBC Universal, which owns 1/3 of Hulu with Walt Disney, controlling the rest, has to make a decision soon. Under the terms of an agreement with Disney, NBC Universal has a one-time window to exit from the content licensing agreement between the two early next year. If it doesn't exercise the option, the content will remain there until at least 2024. Peacock is not doing well. I don't just straight up. Peacock is not doing well. They canceled AP Bio, which sucks, and I love that show. And you know, quite frankly, watching anything on Peacock just stinks. So I would think that Comcast would be smart enough to. We've seen streamers fail. We've seen Quibi failed in a matter of months. NBC's other streamer, CISO, failed within a year and a half, 2 years. I know because I paid for every single month up until it failed. It stopped. So why does it make sense for them to pull out of a sure bet like Hulu and stick with the slow horse that is Peacock? Hulu needs attention. It's kind of Disney has a three-headed Cerberus with streaming: Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu. Hulu's been around the longest, and I find it to have a stable base. Disney Plus is a money grosser, and that's the thing that's going to pay for all this stuff. And then ESPN Plus is the thing that I would be concerned about because it's an app that just doesn't seem to comply. There's taco sauce on my monitor. Let me tell you what happened. Friday night, I'm biking back from. I'm about to bike back from the movie theater, and then I go. I want some dinner because it's 8:00 at night, and I gotta get dinner. So there's a taco place, and nearby, and I go, great. I'm gonna go get some tacos. Go get the tacos. Call a friend while I'm waiting for them to be cooked, and I have my book bag with me as well. So the tacos come, and I put this very thick paper bag inside my book bag, and then I bike back home, and I come home and put this stuff on the table, and there's just grease and taco sauce everywhere inside my book bag and on the side of the bag, and I go, oh God, the paper containers that they put the tacos in just destroyed. Anyway, so I moved. So at one point, I put everything on the table, and then I moved like stuff that had taco sauce over here, including my book bag, and some of this, I guess, got on the monitor. Either that or Nova is sneezing on my work monitor. Okay, just joking. She's hungry. She's ready to eat. It is 5:29. So. What were we talking about? Oh, right, Disney Hulu. So ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus. That is what makes up Disney's streaming. Now that you can access ESPN Plus content on Hulu, I think they should phase out ESPN Plus as its own app. But this goes back to what I think this whenever I watch Peacock. Peacock should have been, if anything, if it wanted to separate itself, Peacock should have been not its own separate service, but its own separate channel within within other streamers. You should be able, and I understand that the point of making money is you want to make all the money and not split it up. But if I could go to Amazon channels, if I could go to Apple TV Plus, if I could go to Hulu and subscribe to Peacock, that little network inside of those apps, then that would be a better deal than having to rely on this janky app that just does not work most of the time. And they can rely on ads, they can do all the stuff, they can offer free months, but when it comes to not even this goes back to BuzzFeed not trusting its writers, you got to be able to trust in the app. They're doing half the work over there at NBC Universal. And cutting off a stable leg for that is Hulu would not help them in the long run. Because I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed with Hulu. They stayed with this Hulu deal. Sure, fine. You are not majority owner, but I mean, see if you can get half ownership and also foot some, so you can have a lot. You can have a lot more say in what is done with Hulu. Because I think, if anything, so in 2 years' time, I could see Peacock being phased out, just like I can see Discovery Plus being phased out. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to be. I think the Peacock moniker will be around because you need competition. Because you can't just give it all to Disney Plus and Netflix, but it's better that if you want it to stick around like that, then you got to be able to take a little bit more responsibility. Like if I was a child and if I was a teenager and I wanted my own car, or I wanted to go out and use my parents' car to drive, then I gotta take out the trash. You gotta do chores. You have to be able to be trustworthy. And NBC Universal going, okay, well, let's get out of this Hulu deal and let's really put it all into Peacock. It's not going to work because you can't build an app up from the bottom anymore unless you have that the backing that Disney had, that kind of fan base. There's never going to be another Netflix. There's never going to be another Disney Plus, ever. And so a company like Apple, a company NBC Universal, them jumping in, them thinking that they can take it as high in that stratosphere as these other two. I mean, Disney Plus is a one in a million shot. It just because we've seen other streamers fail, or we've seen other streamers plateau. And speaking of plateauing, Disney Plus has plateaued with subscribers. But even though that has happened, it's Disney Plus versus NBC Universal Peacock. And I love to watch SNL. I love watching SNL. Put it on Hulu. Put all that stuff on Hulu. I'd rather pay that extra. I'd rather pay that $5, which I don't pay for Peacock. This is the only streaming service I don't pay for. See, I use Peacock for free. That's how I get all the SNL. That's true. Or all the old SNL. I would rather pay that $5 to Hulu or to Amazon or to Apple TV Plus because it's a channel in there than to have that app on my iPad, on my phone, on my TV any longer. So let's get back to the story. If NBC Universal decides to pull its content, it would disappear from Hulu by the fall of 2022. You're just going to lose viewers. Chicago PD, The Voice, Saturday Night Live. You're just going to lose viewers on that stuff if it goes to Peacock, because nobody wants to pay that money. It's not Paramount Plus, which was CBS All Access. It doesn't have that type of built-in audience, and it's not Disney, so it doesn't make sense for this to happen. And also, there's also, you can, if you're a creator, if you're a good enough creator with a good enough deal, Hulu has a separate, long-term agreements with shows that would remain on, that are on NBC or on Fox or whatever, or Comedy Central, what have you, and while other shows from those same networks aren't on there, like shows like 30 Rock, Will and Grace, SVU, Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights is everywhere, whereas 30 Rock is only on Hulu and Netflix, I believe, or it trades back and forth between both of those, and Peacock as well. Also, pulling stuff from Hulu would also help Peacock just a little bit. It could also damage NBC Universal's bottom line because it is a co-owner of Hulu and shares in its success. A move that harms Hulu could also lower the value of NBC Universal's holdings. Okay. Let's keep going. As part of the argument, Comcast believes Hulu could be worth more if Disney expanded the service internationally. See, look at that. That's how you're setting up. You're helping out. People familiar with the matter said Disney has instead focused its international efforts on Disney Plus, which, yeah, that makes sense. Disney is that universal name while Hulu is not. And also they bought Star. So now that Star was the big streamer in India, but now as Disney plus Hotstar, now Disney has that name out there. You can do the same thing with Disney. If Disney releases, Hulu in India or in China, in Japan, and says Disney Hulu, people are going to subscribe. I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine is on Disney Plus Hotstar over there overseas. I believe so. It's stuff like that. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine's on Netflix in Canada. That's just how agreements work. In a recent fourth quarter earnings release, Hulu currently has 43.8 million subs. That's up 20% from the same period last year. And a lot of that is the deals that they do with Spotify, like student stuff. Hulu's free with some other things, Disney Plus said it added just over 2 million subs in the quarter ending October 2nd, bringing its total to 118.1 million. Being bundled with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus since November 2019 has also been a boost since then. 81% of Hulu's net subscriber additions stem from the bundle, according to analytics data from firm Antenna. Still, inside Disney, Hulu is often viewed as a stepchild. I said this before. People close to the streaming service said its content is more adult than Disney Plus and not necessarily in sync with the family-friendly brand of Disney. You know, this, I mean, I guess it's kind of fortunate that I can relate this. In House of Gucci, one of the problems why Gucci just kind of was bottoming out in the 80s and 90s was because it was stuck behind, you know, in the past as a family brand, whereas it took Tom Ford and the new CEO Domenico to really experiment and take things to new heights. So that's what Disney needs to do with Hulu. Yes, they're a family friendly company, but at some point they've got to be able to go. We got to use the names that we have, like Hitmonkey and the MODOK Show, and yes, those are TV MA rated shows, but they were so funny and so good and dark, and you know, Handmaid's Tale. I mean, you inherited this. You helped make this. Just trust in yourself. Hulu president last month, Kelly Campbell, left to become president of Peacock. We'll see where that goes. There's tension between Hulu and Disney. Peacock had 54 million signups and 20 million monthly active accounts, Comcast said in July, the last time the company gave any metrics. During its most recent earnings release, Comcast didn't disclose any updates about Peacock, which analysts and industry insiders took as a sign of disappointing growth. I just don't think exclusives really work out like that. And this final one, the same story, comes from Variety. VIP Plus Variety Intelligence Platform. Written by Kevin Tran. And it just talks about the same thing we basically just talked about. I'm just realizing that right now. But it gives a lot of numbers into how many shares, who all owns Disney and how many shares. It's independent people as well, or companies as well. But Disney, Viacom, CBS, NBC Universal, Warner Media, Sony, AMC Networks, A&E Networks, Lionsgate, and BBC. That's 9 different media companies that back Hulu. Hulu's like the NPR of the streaming world. And that's why Hulu's catalog is so diverse. Ugh. I think Hulu's great. All right. Let's get out of here. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where there are games and toys that any person could have. No, there's that's where I do stuff. If you want to see a video version of the show, head to youtube.com/cpluscomedy. You can see me sitting in my chair in a shirt that I work out at the gym with. What else? Also on youtube.com/cpluscomedy is our premiere video show, News Time. I have not done an episode in 2 weeks, but I have 2 episodes already shot. I just need to edit them. And then also, after this recording, I have 1 more episode to shoot for the year. 1 more episode. It's going to be huge. I can't wait. It's something I've been planning for a year and a half. It's about the Nielsen ratings, and it sounds boring, but man, it's going to be great. Let's see. Then after that, we have blooper episodes as well as the year in comedy or whatever the heck I do for that middle week. If you want to see a video version of the News Time, what else? Instagram, Twitter, @CPlusComedy. And me on Instagram and Twitter @ChadBlackWhite, even though I don't post. Like us on Facebook, rate, review, subscribe to the show wherever you get those things. Tell your friends about it. It's a pretty good show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.